Hey guys, this is lesson 3.2 for course 2. The title of this lesson is adding and subtracting fractions. So all of our favorite thing to do, to add and subtract fractions, I thought this was kind of cool. It says, why learn this? Sometimes you want an exact answer when you add or subtract fractions. So in lesson 3.1, we talked about estimating. Estimating we do every day. When we go to Meijer and we buy a couple things, we estimate to see if we have enough money. But sometimes you need to know the exact answer. So if you are sewing, you should leave extra material to make a hem on a pair of pants. That's what this lady is doing. You can add fractions to find exactly how much. In cooking, you add fractions all the time. There's so many different things. In carpentry, if you're building a house and you have to measure the boards to cut and you're adding fractions and I need half of this and I need 3/4 of this. So you use it all the time. So there's a couple key notes that I want you to write down. So, number 1, adding and subtracting integers with the same denominator. So this is super easy. When I add or subtract integers with the same denominator, here's my example, 1/10 plus 3/10. I just add 1 plus 3 and I keep the denominator the same. So then I get 4/10. Always, always, always you will have to reduce that to 2/5 is your correct answer. Now, for adding and subtracting integers with different denominators, here's an example, 3/4 plus 4/5. Well, step 1, you have to have a common denominator. So the easiest way that I find to find a common denominator is to multiply the 3/4. I'm going to multiply 3/4. I'm going to multiply this by 5 and this by 5 because it is this the 4/5 denominator. And then I'm going to multiply this by 4 and this by 4. So why I do that is because then if I rewrite my fraction, I would have 15 over 20 plus 16 over 20. Now, look at what I just did. I made both of these common denominators. I made them both 20. So whenever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So if you want to multiply this by 5, you have to multiply the 3 by 5 also. So now I have 15 plus 16, which equals 31. I keep the denominator the same, and I get 31 over 20. You can leave it like that. You do not need to write it as a mixed number. If you want to write it as an improper fraction, that's completely fine. All right, here is a cute little video. Notice what they just did. Notice what they just did in that video. They added the denominators. 3 plus 5 equals 8 and 1 plus 1 equals 2. That is not correct. That's why the teacher's saying no. What they're doing here is figuring out what do they have in common, like the LCM. This is what they're doing exactly, the LCM. Finding what they have in common, and right there they have 15 in common. All right. So, find each sum or difference. So try these three problems, A, B, and C, and then we will correct. All right. 3/5 plus 1/5. Well, this is easy. I already have a common denominator, so I get 4/5. Remember, you keep the denominator the same. You do not change the denominator. You're only adding the top. So 13 minus 9 is 4/16, but I need to simplify that. I can see that 4 goes into 16 4 times, so I get 1/4. 1/4 plus 3/4 equals 4/4, which equals 1. Sometimes you add or subtract fractions with different denominators. You can use models to help you find the sum or difference. So, different denominators is exactly what that little video was. So find 4/5 plus 2/3. So I need to find what 5 and 3 have in common. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 4/5 and I'm going to times that, and I'm going to take 2/3. I'm going to times 4/5 by 3 on the top and the bottom. I times it by 3 because that is this denominator. This one I'm going to times by 5, times it by 5 because that is this denominator. It's like I take this denominator right here and I put it on both of these numbers. Okay, so what I have left is 4 times 3 is 12. And 5 times 3 is 15. And I'm going to add that to 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 5 is 15. So now I have a new fraction, two new fractions, both with common denominators. So I can find the answer very simply. 12 plus 10 is 22. Remember, you only add the two top numbers. I only add these two and then I leave my 15 alone. 22 over 15. Now, I can't simplify that, so I just leave it as 22 over 15. So try these next two problems and then come back and we'll go over it. All right, 3/4 minus 1/6. So I have 3/4 and I have 1/6. So this, I see something a little bit different here, is I know that they both can go into 12. So you can do it like this. You could times this by 6 and this by 6. That's totally fine. And this by 4 and this by 4. That's completely fine. If that's just the easiest way and you just want to do it one way, you can do that. 3 times 6 is 18. And 4 times 6 is 24, minus 4 over 24. Now, 18 minus 4 is 14 over 24. When you get to this step, you always will have to reduce. So I would reduce that to 7/12. If you didn't do it that way, another way you could do is you could see that both of these denominators go into 12. So you could times this by 3 and get 9/12 minus, and times this by 2 minus 2/12, and then you would get 7/12. Either way, you're getting the same answer. You're just going about it two different ways, and it's totally fine either way that you would like to do it. All right, so this one, this one's nice because I see that 7 and 14, I know that all I have to change is this fraction to make it into 14. So I'm going to take 3/7, I'm going to times this by 2 and this by 2, and that will give me 6/14 plus 5/14. 6 plus 5 equals 11/14. So hopefully you got those same answers that I got, and we're on the right track. All right, a cabinet maker needs a board that is 9/16 inch thick. by how much must he reduce the thickness of a board that is 7/8 inches thick? So, what you need to do is figure out, okay, I'm going to do 7/8 and I'm going to minus 9/16. Okay? So, I have to get 7/8 into 16. So, I'm going to times this by 2 and this by 2. So, that equals 14/16. So, that's my board that I have right now. That's the board that I have. And I want it to be 9/16. So, that means I need to cut off 14 minus 9 is 5, and then 16ths. I need to cut off 5/16 of that board to get it to be 9/16 thick. Okay, you hiked 5/8 of a mile and 1/4 of a mile in the afternoon. How far did you hike? So try this problem on your own, push pause, and then we'll go over it. All right, so it says you hiked 5/8 of a mile. So I'm hiking 5/8 of a mile and 1/4 of a mile. So that means I need to add these together. So 5/8 of a mile plus 1/4 of a mile. Now this is kind of nice because I have 8 and 4. So really all I need to do is times this by 2 and this by 2. And that gives me 2/8. And I would do 5/8 plus 2/8. And that would give me 7/8 of a mile that I hiked. All right, that is it for your notes.